for ticks, I'm sorry. Thank you, Claudia. Well, welcome, and thank you for joining us today for the June CPS Coordinators Forum. I'm Mandi Seethaler. I'm the Community Engagement Representative for the National Child Passenger Safety Board. I'm also the Alaska Highway Safety Office State CPS Coordinator, and I work for the Center for Safe Alaskans. It's my honor to moderate for you today for today's forum. Again, if you're just joining us, we'd love to know where you're from. If you'll put your name and state in the chat, and if you want to share with us your favorite summer activity, we'd love to hear what that is. Next slide. As a reminder, attendees are requested to not participate in this forum if you're operating a motor vehicle. The presentation is being recorded, and you can listen to it when you arrive safely at your destination. This will be posted to cpsboard.org/CPS, CPS Coordinators Forum. That'll be after July 3rd. There's a little delay with the holiday going on. Today, we are joined by Cass Herring from Safe Kids Certification. Yay, Cass, we're so glad to have you. She's going to be sharing some information about certification requirements. Please enter your questions in the chat box, and following Cass, we're going to have some representatives from JPMA that will share information about Baby Safety Month in September. Welcome, Joe and Amy. We're excited to have you. So Cass, I'm going to go ahead and share your bio, and then we can get you started. Cass Herring is the Director of Child Occupant Protection at Safe Kids Worldwide. She serves as a certifying body representative for the National Child Passenger Safety Board. She began her CPS career in 2012 and has served in injury prevention and tribal liaison roles for the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, Safe Kids Oklahoma, and the Oklahoma Highway Safety Office. Thanks for joining us, Cass. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mandi. Happy to be here today. And I think, this is sometimes a topic that we don't review enough, and really not understanding really what goes into it. Certification, recertification is the primary thing that we're going to talk about today. But I did want to start off in saying that I had at Safe Kids Oklahoma a brief stint where I was the CPS state coordinator as well, and able to work with co-coordinators to kind of help plan this. So I understand where you're coming from, and understand, sometimes there are challenges in that, but also want you to know, if you ever have questions, even if you feel like it's a silly question, please feel free to reach out to me, email me, you can call me, whatever, but we really want to hear what your challenges are, because we can't fix it, or we can't address those things if we don't know what's happening. We encourage our team to be in the field as much as possible, because we feel like it's important to understand what is happening day to day. But we can't be everywhere that you are. With that, I wanted to just give you a quick reminder of who's on our team, and who to go to when you have specific questions. So the certification team is made up of Wardell, Stephanie, Shoshana, and I, and we are actually in the process of bringing on a couple of auditors, a quality assurance specialist. But Wardell is your contact if you have issues with certification, recertification, managing course, paying a fee, anything related to website issues, POs, e-vouchers. That's your first point of contact. So cpscert@safekids.org. If you have anything related to CEU pre-approval, text proxy applications, instructor candidate applications, nursing, continuing education applications, those will all go to Stephanie, and she can answer any question related to what is included in a CEU, or information about any of those processes. For questions related to auditing, CPS audit@safekids.org. I have another email address other than Herring@SafeKids. So this is email address specifically for technical questions, anything you have that comes up maybe while you're delivering a course, or an instructor that you work with is delivering a course, or technical questions related to recertification or certification requirements. Shoshana also is on our team and helps a lot with vendor information, and can help with PO and certification stuff as well. So just so you know, that's our team. So you have our contact, and since this is recorded, we can go back and find those contacts. And if you're not really sure, always just come to me and I'll get you where you need to go. For today, we want to discuss the recertification and C-check verification, specifically requirements and what that looks like in your state. We'll briefly touch on ways to earn extra CEUs. I have to say that the CPS board has done a fantastic job with, of course, the education portal. It looks fantastic and it's a great resource. And then also we'll talk about course administration, but I really want this to be more a conversation on what's happening in your state and ways that you feel like we could help improve that. So when we're looking at recertification requirements, we know that a CPST or a tech proxy has to observe you conduct all 5 different seat check types. So just as a reminder, that has to be a technician or proxy actually watching you do those installations. You have to participate in at least one community event. So checkups, community workshops, educational sessions. We know that we have some of those that are online. So that may not actually be physically being in person at an event. And continuing education. So at least 6 hours of continuing education. And if you're an instructor, you do have to complete the 20 hours of your instructor hours, and then pay your recertification fee. If you're a technician, that's $55. And if you're an instructor, that is $60. I do want to note here, we have phased out the alternatives for recertification that were available during COVID. That happened at the beginning of this year, but just want to make sure that we're clear there. So we are back to pre-COVID in how we are looking at completing the requirements for recertification. When we look at the verification of seat checks, the National Child Passenger Safety Board and certification got together and looked at what the purpose was and provided guidance for the purpose for seat checks. You can find this information in the National Child Passenger Safety Policy and Procedure Manual on R4. But the primary purpose of the instructor technician proxy verification of the seat check required for recertification is the observation of interactions with parents and caregivers. So sometimes I feel like there's a misconception that it's just looking at the skills of the technician to be able to install the seat or understand the seat or how the seat works. But we also need to make sure that we're focusing on that communication, that technician or instructor can provide that communication back to the parent or caregiver, especially since it's indicated that that's the primary purpose of that. And we have to actually be there to observe those seat checks in order to verify that. The following guidelines were approved by the recertification committee of the National Child Passenger Safety Board. During a seat check, it's always best to have the child present. Instructors and technicians are strongly encouraged to make every effort to do an actual seat checkup. I know there are some instances where that may not be possible, but that is best practice. And, you know, when we're looking at our curriculum and delivering our curriculum, we want to make sure that we're promoting best practice. You know, I know that we do accept good or better, but in the sake of looking at making our technicians and instructors the strongest that they can be, and really investing in mentorship, we want to make sure that all of these processes are happening in a way where we're encouraging the best of our technicians and instructors. And I understand that sometimes we don't have the availability of a parent or caregiver or a child. So that's why we do have the good, better, best model. So when we're looking at good, that's when the CPST adjusts and installs the seat with a doll. And then they're asked questions from either the tech or the proxy, or the tech proxy or the instructor about the installation and education that they would provide. And they may be asked to demonstrate adjusting the seat. So they would go through that process for each of the 5 seats that they have to be signed off on. Better is if an actual caregiver is not available, the instructor or tech proxy may choose a mock scenario where a colleague acts out the part of a parent. And then best practice is observing interactions and education with caregivers in and is the best way for an instructor or technician proxy to assess the communication and technical skills of the tech instructor. So making those more real world situations is going to be best practice. And you can accomplish that virtually. We have several guidances out there that kind of help you with that process, whether it's you doing virtual education with a parent or caregiver while a technician and proxy are watching, or if you're in person with a parent or caregiver and the instructor or tech proxy is virtual, there are adaptations that can be made in order to get you there. So I want to pause there for just a second and ask a question. How many of you guys do the good? How many of you do better? How many of you do best? Or what are some of the kind of complications that go along with signing off seats?
Cass, do you want them to put it in the chat, or do you want them to?
Yeah, I mean, if they want to unmute too, they feel free
Okay.
to answer that. That's good. And also, do you know what the requirement is for what type of vehicle or whether you can use a demonstrator seat to complete these? Anybody? So specifically in our policy and procedures, it says that you have to use a vehicle. You cannot complete these on a demonstrator seat. So when you're doing verifications of seat checks as a technician or proxy, or providing that guidance to instructors and proxies in your state, making sure that you go through what the requirements are and what the purpose of those seat checks are is very important. We want to make sure that we're all doing things kind of in a standard way where it's not that, well, you know, I heard these people do it this way and these people do it this way, because it is a standard curriculum. We want to make sure that our technicians are at a same level. So making sure that we're providing the support that we can. I do see in the chat that there's some challenges when technicians wait to the last minute. So it's really hard to kind of navigate that. And I know that we're all invested in what we do and want the best for our technicians and instructors. And I know a lot of us who are based out of highway safety offices, one of our metrics that we measure is recertification rate. So we're going to try to do the best that we can to get those people recertified. Are there any models where you've had kind of continuous conversations with some of these people that is helpful to get them to engage in seat check sign-offs sooner? Right. So Tracy, I liked your point. So you said you want to watch the tech's interaction with the caregiver. So it's not that we're just looking at whether they can install the car seat, but providing that education is really important. And I do see Marissa's point. She talks about how sometimes it's hard in rural areas to have access, but I think that sometimes it's maybe following up with communication with some of those people as soon as they get out of courses, and helping understand what their schedule is. And sometimes it's just not on a priority of theirs, right? So then lack of planning kind of comes to an urgent thing before we're looking at recertification. Okay. Just so you all kind of have this list, I'm sure you're super aware of where to earn extra CEUs. We have training at safe.safekids.org, Part C education.org, the Kansas Traffic Safety Resource Center, Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, Safety Made Easy, and Britax. Those links are, you can find those on their websites, or also on the certification website, and Safe Ride News. We just recently updated the Safe Ride News link on the certification website, and Denise has that available now to do for the new latch manual. So we talked about kind of retention and increasing recertification rates, but anybody want to come off of mute and talk about things that they've done to kind of actively address recertification rates in the way that they reach out to technicians and instructors?
So Cass, this is Tracy in Maryland. One of the things that we've noticed a trend is it's not the technicians who are not interested in recertifying, it's the lack of agency support. So, and really they don't have any expectation. And when the technician goes to class, they're not sure what to expect, because they, as a leadership, that administrative person, they don't know what the certification is. So we've actually started doing pre-course emails. And just kind of giving an idea of what the training is. Yeah, Karen is with DC too. So, and what we do is we have a template of tips to consider, and we request that they set up a written policy prior to sending staff to training. And it basically is, what are things that you need to think about to set up a program? Why are you sending them? What's your intentions? What's the ultimate goal of this program? And if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. It's designed to help them think about, do they need to add it into a PEP train? PEP is, performance evaluations. Does it need to be added into job descriptions for continuity if somebody is promoted or leaves or retires? How do you keep the program rolling? The other thing we've done, and we also do that post course too. So after they've successfully completed it, we have an email we send out post course also to the supervisor. That supervisor is collected. The information is collected when the student asks for their pre-course homework. We require homework in Maryland. They have to attend a car seat training before to make sure this is good fit for their time and talents. So we collected then.
Okay. I mean, that's, the pre-course communication, I think that's really valuable, not only for the instructor team, but also, for the potential technician. Anyone else do pre-course requirements? I know that recently I was able to chat with Stephanie on our team, and she held a hybrid course. And she said that, one of the lessons learned in that is having some pre-course communications, and even maybe doing a check-in with the people who registered for those courses to ensure that they were really familiar with how the delivery was going to happen and what the expectations were. But I think, she found that pre-course communication really valuable, and even set up Zooms. She had a small class. And I think it was maybe 4 or 5 people in the class, but she had those conversations beforehand to kind of help with that flow of the course. So I think that could be valuable on both sides. After the course, what does your communication look like after that? Oh,
Hi, Cass.
Yeah, hi.
Hey. So I do a monthly newsletter to all of our technicians in our state, my little CPS digest. And we send that out, or I send it out every single month, but it has links to any scheduled upcoming webinars. It has all of our events happening in the state within the next 2 months, the times, the locations, the addresses, all of that. I also include links to most of the websites that were on your last slide to find online resources for recorded webinars. I also include any type of, updates in the car seat world. Are there new car seats coming out? Have there been recalls recently that they should be aware of on vehicles or car seats? So all of our techs in the state get that every single month on the first of the month from me. And then we also have a private Facebook group that we have for our state's techs for anybody who's on social media. And basically anything that I put in my CPS digest also goes into the Facebook group as well, because sometimes we're better at reading things on social media than in our email, right?
It's true.
Yeah, so I try to put it in both places, but I try to make sure that every single one of our techs knows what's going on in the state and what is available for them for research.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I think that, thinking through different ways to connect with people makes sense because we all communicate different ways. So I think that's fantastic. Karen said that they pair new technicians with seasoned instructors. So really focusing on that mentor process. And Jason said he uses mail merge to do bulk emails. And they're more personal. So, and they have also the private Facebook. So I think that it sounds like you guys are working really hard to make sure that you're staying in contact with technicians. And we know that sometimes that if we don't, as technicians, update our profiles and things like that, we may lose contact with people when they change jobs or positions or email addresses. So, I like the idea of the Facebook group because that's a different way to stay in contact with people. I think the next thing that I really wanted to talk about and understand is course administration and what that communication process looks like in your state. As an instructor, if you are an instructor, what processes do you go through when preparing for a course? What resources do you look at? Do you reference your instructor prep guide? Do you reference the materials that are in your instructor materials? And then if somebody want to come off mute and kind of talk through what that process looks like for them as instructors. Mandi, what do you do when you're getting ready for a course? What's your process?
So the first thing I kind of do is obviously look at a calendar, try to figure it out, see what instructors are available, plan when we can have the course, and then work through where's it going to be? A lot of times we have to work through some logistics and who's got supplies and who needs travel funding. And so the list gets pretty long for planning. But I think one of our key touch points is that at our pre-course meeting, we always make sure that we go through the planning and logistics guide and remember all the things we're supposed to talk to before the quiz and who's keeping track of all the paperwork. We have a course assistant, is it the lead instructor? So it takes a significant amount of planning, and then it's making sure that someone is responsible for that. Is it the course assistant? And in Alaska, our classes are a little bit smaller, so it tends to be the lead instructor that's handling the majority of that, usually. And then, yeah, communicating via email, making sure the students are aware of what they're supposed to be doing. So it does take some time too. You know, sometimes we're like, oh, I want to plan this for next month, but really to be thoughtful about it, planning at least 8 weeks out in advance is really nice. And I know some of you are lucky enough, you get to plan a whole year in advance. You're like, here's all the courses I'm going to have. But, you know, we work with fire stations or agencies that are like, hey, can we do a course? And part of that too, as several of you have mentioned, is making sure that there's a commitment after. This is great. We're going to train all these people, but then what's the follow-up? What's the mentorship? Updating our statewide list so that we can get in contact and maintain communication and be good mentors. So it takes some time.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic. Let me ask Austin, because I know Austin, but Austin, when you're preparing for a course or throughout the course of the year, because you guys teach about 10 to 12 courses a year, how often do you look back at your policy and procedure manual, or, you know, how often do you reference your instructor prep guide? No, maybe Austin can't talk. But I think one thing that I want to stress here is that we have to make sure that we're following those guidelines, we're following policy, and we're having those conversations with our team about policy and procedure and our instructor prep guide, because those are guidelines. Those are what we should follow in order to implement our courses. And not everybody on our team is going to be a lead instructor or has taken the lead instructor course. But it's important to have everybody understand what the requirements for teaching a course is and what policy is. And those things are, I think, sometimes things that we take for granted. But how often do you, as state coordinators, have conversations about policy with your instructors and proxies? It's something that we want to make sure that when we're training new instructors, when they're going through their instructor candidacy process, that we're reminding them of, and making sure that it's something that they're checking before we teach every course. So even if that's a reminder when we're doing our pre-course meeting, just to say, hey, you know, if you haven't looked at our instructor prep guide, or if you haven't looked at the policies and procedures, just, you know, make sure you're familiar with those. If you're not teaching every day, it's hard. It's hard to know what's in 13 modules and how to and how to make sure that we're correctly administering everything, every quiz, everything all correctly at the same time. And it's cool because we have a lot of teams that work together that have a lot of knowledge, and you typically have people on that team that are responsible for those things, which is your lead instructor. But I want to also encourage you to bring along other technicians on your team, and making sure that they're familiar with those policies and procedures as well. And so I know a lot of us have state conferences and things like that. How often do you talk about course administration whenever you're doing instructor updates, or when you are looking at CEU sessions? I know that course administration is not specifically a CEU, but I think that it is still very important to our processes. Okay, cool. So do we have specific questions for things related to course administration, or things related to seat check sign off specifically, or recertification?
Yes, Bevan made a great point. She said, I find the information to be in too many places. They're the FAQs and guides.
Okay.
Lots of information, but spread out. So maybe that's something that we could work on to streamline maybe.
Of course. So, I know that I've talked about this in a few places, but probably not all the places, but certification in this upcoming year is really going to look at assessing the certification program overall. So we are aware that sometimes information is not easy to find on the certification website. Like you said, it's in policy, it's in FAQs, it's in different places. So I think that that's really valuable feedback. And like I said at the top of this, I really want you all to reach out to me and have conversations about things that could make this process easier for you. I can't promise to change everything in a day. But if we don't know the complications, then we can't really address how to make that better. And one of the things that we're going to do in our assessment of the program is a survey for instructors, for proxies, and for technicians to kind of help us understand lots of things, whether that's, barriers to certification, recertification, and also to help us understand how there are sometimes barriers to recertification or certification, whether that's access to courses or looking at what languages information is in. But I appreciate that, Mandi and Bevan. Thank you for pointing that out, because I agree with you and I think we can make it better. Thank you for sharing the planning and logistics guide, Claudia.
Can I throw one more thing out there, Cass?
Yeah.
If you have suggestions for things that should be included or information that you're missing, you can go to the curriculum feedback at cpsboard.org and you can share those. There's a drop-down list where you can share that's a document that you have some suggestions for. Those are cataloged and reviewed, and it's really helpful to hear from the field.
No, it is fantastic. And if it's specific to recertification, they do a great job of getting those recommendations to us. And also for those of you that actually are familiar with the process to pull the information from the certification site as a state contact, that is something we've gotten several suggestions for. We want to make sure that when we do update that module, that it includes all the things that you're interested in seeing as a state contact related to the technicians and the courses. So please feel free to send that information to me so we can include that when we are in the process of updating that module. Yeah. Okay. Next, we already did questions. So next, we have our friends Joe and Amy, who are going to talk to you about Baby Safety Month. And before we do that, Libby, yes, we are going to get the recert rates again. Well, they'll be monthly again. We had the quality assurance individual doing that, but I've kind of failed you, but I will get those information to you very soon. We'll send the next ones out on the 1st or the 3rd. Joe, I'll turn it over to you. Do you have information to share?
Joe still on?
Right.
Yeah, I do have information, and I have slides if I can share that. Thank you. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to start us out, and then I'll introduce Amy Chezem, who runs Baby Safety Month. But real quick, for those of you that don't know me, I've been an advocate for 29 years. CPS Week will start my 30th year, actually. So I've seen a lot of this over the years, and I've actually worked in most of your states. I've worked in 48 of the states, even if you don't recognize me, that's something I've been doing for many, many years. But a lot of you might not know what JPMA is. It stands for the Juvenile Products Manufacturers Association. And in the car seat space, the only real mention in the curriculum, it isn't there anymore, but it used to mention that JPMA recommended a 6-year expiration of car seats in the mid to late 1990s when JPMA did. But really, we're an association of juvenile products manufacturers and importers and retailers and other stakeholders in that space. And for child passenger safety, which is what this call is about, it's an association of the car seat manufacturers. So really, we work on a lot of different things. We work on making sure that there are safe regulations for children, that the state laws are safe as well, policies from different organizations we help with. We're definitely very engaged with researchers on a lot of levels, and of course we're advocates as well, because we want the best information to be available so parents can choose their products appropriately and then use them as they're intended, as they're designed, as they're tested. So to that end, we actually call ourselves the voice of quality and safety for child restraint manufacturers and for the rest of the juvenile products industry. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware of who JPMA is, and hopefully more of you will see us as a partner or as a resource in your CPS week and actually year-round activities. We partner with a lot of organizations that you partner with, the Injury Free Coalition for Kids, Safe Kids Worldwide, Safe States Alliance, NHTSA, the American Academy of Pediatrics, NSC, the National Safety Council, that is. So on a lot of different projects and a lot of different levels, we're working together. So I'm actually going to turn it over to Amy to give you an overview of Baby Safety Month, which is our most extensive consumer-facing period. So Amy, go ahead if you're ready. Yeah.
Thanks, Joe. And Claudia, thanks for putting JPMA's website in the chat. As Joe mentioned, well, just a little introduction. I'm Amy Chezem. I've been working with JPMA for over 20 years, specifically on campaigns like Baby Safety Month, which Joe mentioned is JPMA's largest consumer-facing campaign. As Joe mentioned, JPMA is a trade organization, so we are very involved trade, industry side. But this, we do have a few consumer campaigns, this being one of our largest. Just a little history about Baby Safety Month is that JPMA started it back 40 years ago. So this year is actually our 40th anniversary. We're super excited about that. It started out just as an Expectant Mother's Day. It's grown to a week campaign, and then finally a whole awareness month. And just a fun fact about Baby Safety Month, it is the 9th month of the year for a reason. And it is really an education and awareness campaign, teaching or educating parents and the industry about baby products in general. Joe, do you want to advance?
Yep.
So typically over in the past years and over the long haul of a few decades when we've been hosting Baby Safety Month, we do pick a few topics. And the reason for that is they're usually hot topics of the year that parents have a lot of questions about. Maybe just a hot topic within the industry for whatever reason. So all of September, we do focus on general baby safety. We hate to say child-proofing because nothing's child-proof. But in addition to general baby safety, which applies to all categories, this year we are focusing on choosing and using the right products, meaning no matter what the product is, make sure you're choosing it based on what the manufacturer is recommending for age, weight, height. Make sure you're following along with any milestones developmentally and then discontinuing use. That's one of the hot topics that we have found throughout the year, is that, you know, a lot of parents are, it's coming down to they're not choosing the right products to begin with. So we're trying to help them in choosing them. And then once they choose the right one, that's the right fit, is using them properly and discontinuing them and monitoring your kids. Safe sleep, always a huge topic. Like Joe mentioned, we're partnering with the AAP, and car seat safety, of course, because Child Passenger Safety Week. Joe will touch a little bit about that more specifically a little bit in a couple of minutes. And then on the go products, which could be carriers, portable hook on chairs, play yards, anything that you need baby out and about with. Joe? So the industry, why we are here, why Joe and I are here, because we need your help. As a stakeholder of baby safety, you have the greatest opportunity to connect and engage with parents. Like I said, this is our biggest campaign, yet we have a very small staff, we have a very small budget. So we really rely on those partners that Joe mentioned and you guys to help us spread the message. You know, kind of like I always say, the trickle down effect. And I will get into it a little bit in a couple of minutes, but we make this easy for you. Hopefully with lots of resources and things that you can just plug and play. So why? Again, it's really just because this is an awareness and information campaign, and because injuries are the leading cause of hospitalization and death in children, but they mostly can be prevented. Again, a big portion of that is choosing and using these right products. So how can you do this? You know, provide parents and friends, colleagues, anybody else in the industry, other stakeholders, other advocates of baby safety, giving them the things that they need. And we do this through an easy turnkey digital toolkit. I believe Claudia put the website in the chat, but it's babysafetymonth.org, which is a little microsite. It's through jpma.org, but it has lots of great toolkits for you and lots of great things that you can use, including videos, which Joe will go into a little bit about, including our newest one with car seats, lots of social media graphics. We have done the work for you pretty much. We have taken tons of social media images. We have added social tips to them. And then we've also, so you can just take those, use them, just upload them, whatever you want on your website and newsletters, on your social media platforms. Or we've also provided templates for you so that you can add your logo to it. You can add your own safety tip if you don't like any of ours. So whatever you have the bandwidth for, you know, hopefully we have given you those tools to help you educate parents in September.
Yeah,
Joe?
I'm going to talk a little bit about CPS Week. We obviously want to be a major participant in this, as do most of the car seat manufacturers. We all know on this call that motor vehicle crashes are a leading cause of injury and a leading cause of death for children. So I think you'll recognize our messaging focus for this year, and really every year, is selection, choosing the right product, like Amy just talked about, direction of the child restraint being appropriate for the child and maximizing each mode of use, location in the vehicle, harnessing the child correctly, and installation. And you know, we know that those are really the 5 steps to correct use of a child restraint. And that's really what we want to reiterate to parents through everything that we're doing during Baby Safety Month and during CPS Week. Something just to mention here is the materials that we provide. You really can trust, first of all, because these are the manufacturers. These are the folks that help to set those those instructions for parents and caregivers. And so we're really aligned with best practices. And as I mentioned, I've been an advocate for a long time. I've been an instructor since there were instructors. So we do ensure that they're consistent with best practices. The cool thing about the social media side of it is that we want to make it easy for you. A lot of times we're looking for social media content. We as advocates are looking for social media content. So we're trying to make them as easy for you as possible. So for CPS week, this year is the 17th and 23rd of September. We're actually doing our big national event that we do every year on September 16th, the day before CPS week starts. And that's going to be in Washington, D.C. If you happen to be in the D.C. area, we're working with Karen Gay and Tracy Whitman and a couple other people on this call, like we do every year to make sure it's a successful event. And that's also where you'll see a lot of the car seat manufacturers attending and providing car seats for people that need replacement seats. In that process as well. The reason we have it on the 16th instead of on the 23rd is primarily because of the next line. And that's a lot of the manufacturers that in their local areas have local events that they're either leading or participating in. And we're going to be promoting those as well at our website that Amy mentioned, the jpma.org, and that's in the chat. And then we'll also be using social media tips and a suite of educational animations. And what we mean by that is there are top tips points that are made through each of the social media posts. And also we decided to go in a new direction a couple of years ago with educational animations, and they're usually about 30 to 40 seconds long. We've got one that's a little bit longer than that, but there are now 3 of them. One of them is specifically on booster seats and what they mean, so to help parents to understand the most misunderstood child restraint, type of child restraint. Also, the instructions are pointed out in another one of the videos for correct use, making sure you switch your retractor, making sure you use a tether forward facing is in a second animation. And then the third is really on utilizing manufacturer resources, the instructions and a lot of the other resources that manufacturers provide on their websites or via calls. One of the cool things that JPMA offers, if you're not familiar with it, is we have a listing of all of the consumer phone lines that are available through manufacturers, and also what they offer. The manufacturers, some of them offer just phone service, some of them offer phone and email, and some have added texting, some do video checkup events for their brand, and some do video checkup events for any brand. And all of that is listed on our website under car seat help. So that's definitely a good resource, and also links to all of the manufacturers. We're expanding that list of car seat help to not only involve JPMA members, which is the bulk of car seat manufacturers, but there are a couple that are not currently members, and we'll be including their information in that listing as well. So you'll have everything in one shot to refer parents to. And then we'll also be doing some live streamed events and media throughout Baby Safety Month and during Child Passenger Safety Week to help spread the word in new ways that you're welcome to participate in, or to stream locally, or to refer to after the recordings are done. Amy, you want to pick up ambassadors?
So one easy thing that you can do, Joe and I both mentioned the toolkit of resources. So when you have a minute, just take your time and go through all of that. Lots of safety tips you can use. There's a social media info guide on there, but actually 2 things that you could really do quickly is become a baby safety ambassador if you are not already. Just go on to babysafetymonth.org. On the left-hand side, you'll see become an ambassador. You fill in a few questions. It literally takes under 2 minutes. You upload your logo if you have one. And then right away, you get this cute little brag badge up in your right-hand corner that you can post on your social media, newsletters, whatever you want. And then we take your logo and we include it in our list of Baby Safety Month ambassadors, and we promote that through the summer and through September. Currently, I don't know what the actual number is because we get them every day, but we're above 250 ambassadors, which is really great. And again, it takes 2 seconds, but it's just another way to show your support and an easy way for consumer and industry engagement. And then another thing, which I don't think we have a slide on for, but you can see in our toolkit is that we are, especially because this is our 40th anniversary, we are trying to get a state proclamation from every state in the US. And we have written the proclamation for you. It's just really your state declaring Baby Safety Month, September as Baby Safety Month. We used to do this years ago, but now most states require that you be from that state in order to fill it out. So I live in New Jersey. I did one for New Jersey. Joe lives in South Carolina. So if you have the moment, just Google state proclamation for whatever state you live in, and then you can literally copy and paste the request information that we have in the toolkit, as well as upload the actual verbiage for the proclamation. And then just let us know if you did that or not. But like I said, our goal is to get all 50 states with a proclamation. And if you're already an ambassador, thank you. No need to sign up again. What you can do, though, is share that brag badge, like I said, tell a friend, and then check back to that babysafetymonth.org, because we are constantly adding new things to the toolkit. Just like Joe mentioned, we've had some videos on there, but we just added a new one last week about choosing the right car seat. And we constantly have new blogs from partners and things like that. So, make it a point, put it on your calendar to check back often to see what else is new.
I'm trying.
Okay. And if there's something that you want to talk to Joe and I about, like you have a great idea for Baby Safety Month, you're hosting something, you have a great way to partner, or you need something from us that you don't see in our toolkit, please reach out to Joe or myself. It is not a one size fits all for every partner and ambassador. If we have bandwidth, we are happy to help you out with whatever you need, because we just, again, want that to spread the word. And however we can do that and you can do that, is the more the merrier.
Does anyone have questions now or input now that we can help with? Put it in a chat or take yourself off mute. That's what we're here for. You guys make it easy.
Thank you.
Thanks for putting those links in the chat, Claudia. Appreciate that.
Well, Joe and Amy, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you will come back. And again, if anyone has any questions, please reach out to them directly. Before we go, we do have a few closing announcements. The next CPS Coordinators Forum will be on Wednesday, July 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Members of the National Child Passenger Safety Board will be joining us to discuss the resources for National Child Passenger Safety Week activities. And if you have topics that you would like to have us address during a forum, please reach out and send those to secretariat@cpsboard.org. We would love to hear from you on what you want to know about. Next slide. As promised during May's CPS Coordinators Forum call, the School Bus Learning Library is now available at the Child Passenger Safety Learning Portal. Learners are able to complete individual models of the newly released 2023 Child Passenger Safety on School Buses National Training in the School Bus Learning Library. This is a great way to build interest in the school bus enrichment training or help participants refresh and update their knowledge base. That's coming soon. It's going to be August before we know it, right? Visit carseateducation.org/school bus for more information. Next slide. The National Child Passenger Safety Board membership drive is now open. Membership positions are for 3 years, so we're seeking 3 positions: community engagement, injury prevention / healthcare, and public safety law enforcement. Please promote these in your state. We know there's a lot of amazing candidates out there, and we would love to have them send in their application and join us. So visit cpsboard.org/membership for more information there. And finally, everyone, the CPS Awards are open, and we would love to have a nominee from every state. We know that you know who the rock stars are in your state. Please take a minute to fill it out. It's online. The questions are really easy. We just want to get to know who's doing great work in your state. This can be a technician, instructor, or team, or all of them, or multiples, but please take a minute to recognize those in your states that are doing this amazing work. Again, visit cpsboard.org for more information. Well, thank you again for joining us today. This recording will be available around July 5th-ish, just after the holiday. So have a safe day, and we'll see you next month. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Claudia, if you'll stop the recording, I think a few of us will hang out. If anybody has any additional questions or follow-up that they want to chat with, you can come off your video and unmute, and we can have a